Good afternoon, everyone. It's again delightful to be with Dr. Sat and Harlem Children's Society, and such great examples from Sam and Rashida earlier. I'm not going to talk much about UNICEF and its work, but something about future and children in the world today. And I'm going to take a kind of a historical snapshot of where we were and where we are today, and try and see how best people here, particularly in the work that you do, can look at some of this information and use this information for the broader goals of the world that we want to be in. Just to say, almost 20 years ago, in 1990, there was this World Summit for Children. It was the first time a summit of any kind was organized. It was not a summit that was called by the UN. It happened to take place in the UN. It was called by 6 prime ministers of the world, one from each of the continents. It brought together heads of governments and ministers from all the world. It was the first of those summits in the 90s, and there were many more that followed, and most of the others happened to be the UN summits. But this one was Children's Summit. It was called World Summit for Children, and there were children who addressed the summit. And some of those children are adults today, and they're still around, and they are still looking at what the commitments or the promises that the kings, the prime ministers, and the presidents and the ministers made. And what I'm going to do is track not exactly what happened since '90, but look at something that happened as the mother of all summits, if I may say, which was called the Millennium Summit that took place in 2000, and that was a UN summit, and that brought together again prime ministers, presidents, and ministers, and they made a number of commitments, a number of promises. And where are they to work in terms of those promises, and what can each one of us do to remind our leaders, whether it is in our municipalities or boroughs, or in the cities and the countries, or the world over, on reminding our leaders about the promises that they made, and how can we help in translating some of those promises into a reality. Because if those promises are not kept, then the world will be an ugly place, right? We will be looking for more and more answers to problems that we create, not problems that happen or problems that have been around, but problems that we create. So that's what we are going to talk about. Now, before I go into to kind of a progress chart on each of these, how many of you are aware of the Millennium Development Goals? Raise your hands. MDGs or Millennium Development Goals? Anyone? Have you heard of them? No. Okay. In September this year, 20th to 22nd, right here in the backyard of New York, that is the United Nations General Assembly, there's going to be a special session bringing together all the prime ministers, presidents, and kings and queens, the few who are still around. They will all come together and see how much promises have been made, have been achieved, and what more can the world do. And some of you said you do know about the Millennium Development Goals. So I'm going to ask, what is the first of those Millennium Development Goals? These are goals for development, for many areas of importance to us, because if they don't happen, then there is no future for the world. Okay? So Does anyone know what those Millennium Development Goals are? Anyone? Random. Want to? Education. Great. Education. In the area of education, there was a concrete promise or a goal. And who was that? Would you like to elaborate on what was that?
No, sir.
Never mind. No problem. So there was a... Okay, yes.
Global warming on growing nations.
Okay, on global warming, there was a Millennium Development Goal. That's on environmental sustainability. By the way, the Millennium Development Goal on education is the Millennium Development Goal number 2. And Millennium Development environment sustainability has many aspects, one of which is about environment and all the global warming and climate issues. It's part of MDG 7. Yes? Child care. You want to give a little twist to it. Child care includes everything, right? You want to further qualify it? Food, okay. There's a goal about food or hunger, and that is the Millennium Development Goal number 1, which is about hunger and malnutrition. Yes. On economy. Unfortunately, there isn't. There is no Millennium Development Goal on economy. It's about finding resources, making the right investments. Okay? So all the Millennium Development Goals are about finding the money by better management of the economy so that the future's needs are taken care of as a priority. I saw a hand there. Yes? Yeah. Health. So when you say child care, it's about child health. There is a Millennium Development Goal about child health. That is the MDG 4 or Millennium Development Goal number 4. Any others? So we covered 1, 2, 4, 7. Great. Yes. Oil. There was no, that's again economic field. This is about development, okay? This is about developing the problems of what was found in 2000 as the century was turning around and saying that we need to do something about it, otherwise there is no future for the world. Yes? Child adoption. We'll come to that. That's a good one. It wasn't a Millennium Development Goal, but it was a part of Millennium Declaration. There was a Millennium Declaration which had many parts to it. One of them was the Section 6 on child protection and protecting the vulnerable and the most in need, and that includes some aspects of child adoption. I had a hand there.
Poverty.
Poverty is very much the mother of all Millennium Development Goals. It gets covered in MDG 1, which is about hunger, poverty, and malnutrition. So it's very much a part of that. We still haven't seen number 3, number 5, and number 8. Yes, and number 6. Which one? Social and infrastructure. Is that what you said? All of these goals require social change, social amenities and infrastructure. So there was no specific goal just on social amenities. But I'll touch on these. Who else? Yes?
Access to health and medicine.
Access to?
Health and medicine.
Health and medicine. There was one on child health. Is there any other health that is left out? Huh? Yes? Which one? Elderly health? Peace? There was something about maternal health. That was MDG 5. Millennium Development Goal number 5 was about maternal health. Okay? So that makes it 5. Now we are left with 3, which is MDG 3, MDG 8, and MDG 6. Yes, sir. You had your hand up? Okay. Yes. Housing. Housing comes within the environment sustainability, MDG 7. Okay? War and peace. Yes, a very good point. It is part of the Millennium Declaration, but there was no formal Millennium Development Goal. I see 2 hands there. Okay. Child mortality is child health. That's the MDG 4. HIV and AIDS, great. That is MDG 6. You know, 2000, think of the year 2000. And what would the leaders be thinking about? The problem, the biggest problem that was not finding any solution in 2000. Now we have these ARVs, which are antiretroviral drugs, which are cheaper and available to a lot of people. In the year 2000, that was the biggest, one of the biggest problems that was threatening the whole human race. And therefore, it did find itself a goal, which was the Millennium Development Goal number 6, which was, by the way, not just HIV/AIDS, it had HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and other diseases. All of them come under MDG 6.